We're into class number 27 in our Bible Optics series here on God's Optic on money. It's taken us the last 26 hours to get to this point, but we're pivoting right now. And the reason we take as long is because we're trying to understand that there are two kingdoms in this world. And a lot of times as believers, we automatically, talk about I'm a Christian, and we automatically identify ourselves as belonging to a certain, denominational enclave that we sort of ascribe to or we attend, and we get our identity out of that. And I've been trying to show you that truly, we're not Christians. That's not what we got saved to be. We are truly citizens of another kingdom, of another country. And what we got in the new birth was citizenship, not denominationalism. And it's very hard sometimes to shake our thinking out of denominationalism and our preconceived ideas. And especially when it comes to money, we're going to be asking God to bless us, ask God to get involved in our lives, in our businesses, in aspects that, in our religious thinking is, I want to get God, to increase me or prosper me. And we use all those terminologies. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to come to God from a religious perspective. And we're trying to get God to deal with us from a religious perspective. And He's not going to do it. He just doesn't. And God will deal with us from a citizenry aspect, but it's something that we have to understand. And so we spent the last 26 weeks really bringing this whole idea of kingdom. The kingdom of darkness is a kingdom of ignorance. The kingdom of light is a kingdom of understanding and knowledge. Knowledge is the key to everything in life, but not any knowledge. It's the knowledge of God's word that sets you free. It's, the truth, he says in John 8, and that truth that you know is what sets us free. Not any knowledge, God's knowledge. We've talked about how that man needed governance, was meant to be under governance and govern from under that governance. Adam derailed it. As a result of that, man has tried to govern himself independent of God, and as a result of that, he's come up with all sorts of governances. They don't work. They don't work. That's why even in this republic, we constantly have midterms and elections and whatever, and all we're trying to do is fix bad governance and put in better governance, and others are stepping up to the plate. And it was I think it was Einstein that said you can never fix a problem from the point at which you created it. You can't fix a problem from the level that you created it at. You gotta have something higher or better to deliver you from it. And what man is really looking for, what man is really desiring, is good governance. It's why the people are heading to the borders of this country, because they see that there's a better governance than where they've come from. Everybody's looking for governance, but what Jesus came to give us was that governance. That governance was a kingdom. That governance is a country of which we have become citizens of it. We're born again into it. Most times churches spend their time teaching what Jesus did, not why he did it. Why is the important question. I know what he did. We read what he did. We empathize with what he did. Our hearts are just gone beyond the understanding of the effort that he put in to do what he done to redeem us. But for what? To sit around singing Kumbaya and whatever until he returns or until we leave? Absolutely not. He came to give back to us what Adam lost for us. Adam lost kingdom dominion under the theocracy of God. Jesus came to restore that. It was the only message that Jesus taught. He didn't teach anything else. He didn't teach prosperity. He didn't teach healing. He didn't teach any of that. He taught one thing. He taught the kingdom. The reason he taught the kingdom is everything you need is in it. Prosperity is in it. Healing is in it. Deliverance is in it. All of these stuff, health, everything's in it. It's all a package deal. It's all part of the country that we belong to. But because of our religious mindset, because of our Christian concept, we see it as something, we see the kingdom as something that has yet to happen, and it's afar off. And I said this to you, anything that you postpone, you can't enjoy now. So if you postpone the kingdom to an event that's going to happen when you die and meet Christ in the sky, and you think, well, I'll get it then, I got my ticket to get out of here, that's what it's all about. You've missed it. That's not what it's all about. You can't postpone something and enjoy it in this life if you've postponed it to the next one. And religion does that. Churches have done that. You got to get born again. You got the most important thing. You're going to get to heaven. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. What a waste of effort Jesus went to redeem us and regenerate us and empower us and indwell us, if all it is to leave. It's all meant so that you and I can have an advocacy in our lifetime as ambassadors of a country. And we have to get out of our religious thinking and start thinking constitutionally. We've got to start thinking about governance. The whole reason for keeping this book is not to win favors with God. I've already got the favor of God because I'm in Christ Jesus. God doesn't answer my prayer because I cry or I bawl or I squall or because I've given so much and I do so much. God doesn't give me based on merit in the sense of brownie points with God. God's favor towards me is because of what Jesus done, not because of how good I am. That's the only reason. God answers my prayer because of what Jesus done, not because of what I do. That's why I sign it off in his name. It's the authority of what he done. But I'm an ambassador of a kingdom, and we need to understand that concept. And it's a hard thing to shake. It's a very hard thing to get rid of. And I've ministered for 30 odd years, pioneering churches, and believe me, I've been on both sides of the coin. It's very, very hard to shake this religious thinking. But let me tell you, when you do, it totally sets you free. Set you free from it all. And you start to live life, and you start to keep this, not because you're trying to get favor with God, because you understand it's a constitutional document. It's not a devotional book. It's a constitutional book. And it has within it the benefits and the privileges and the rights of a kingdom and a country for those who belong to it. I keep its rules and I endeavor to keep its laws, not to win favor with God, but to keep myself in the right positioning to allow the benefits of that kingdom to influence my life. That's the only reason I keep it. I'm not keeping it to keep God happy. God's happy with what Jesus done. I keep this to enjoy the benefits that are now afforded me because of what I've been given in the kingdom. Does that all make sense?
Difference between have to and get to.
Yeah, you're right. I get to keep this. I have the privilege of keeping this. I don't have to. You don't have to keep it if you don't want. You can get born again, get your ticket, to meet Christ in the sky when you die, and that's fine. Go have at it, and struggle the whole way through. But you can reign in life. You can master life. You're not immune to what goes on, but you can master what goes on around you. You can master your world, and you got to think constitutionally. So. We got into something last week, and many of you weren't here because of the week that was in it. And in doing so, I thought about it this week and thought, well, maybe I'll recap it a bit. And then I thought, there's something maybe I didn't explain enough, and I'm going to slot that in again. That I haven't, something you need to understand, and it's pivotal. I know it sounds very wordy when we get to it, but it's pivotal. It's an important concept, and you have to understand it. I understand more of this now that I've come to America. I'll be obtaining my citizenship next year, and so I'm very aware of the journey that I've had to get here, the 4 years of interaction between your embassies and all of the stuff that I had to do, all of the papers I had to give and forward, and all of the stuff and everything about my past life, army, career, all of that stuff, all had to be examined before I got access to here. A lot of stuff that went on, and now I'm in the pursuit of citizenship. So I'm very aware of these concepts, maybe much more than you who live here maybe don't understand the fullness of it. But nonetheless, let me get to it now if I may. Everybody with me so far? Just trying to bring everybody in. This.
Citizenship in only 2 years?
5. Okay. In the country I'm from, there's no poverty. The country I belong to, there is no poverty in it. None. In the country I'm from, we don't pursue money. Don't have to. Don't have to. Because everything's provided. It's all part of the kingdom. It's all part of God's provision. So we don't pursue money in the country I'm from. It's not the pursuit of life. In fact, Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the other things that everyone else in the Gentile world worry about. What am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? What am I going to put on? He says, I'll take care of that. I know you need that. It's not the pursuit of your life. The kingdom is the pursuit of your life. In the country I'm from, we don't own anything. He does. We're just stewards of it. That's all we are. They're only resources. He's the source. So we don't own anything. And anything that we've been given or anything that we've obtained, it's only a stewardship of it. Because at the end of the day, you come into the world naked and you're leaving the same way. So it's what you do with what you have, not what you have. You say, well, you want to know what I have. I don't care what you have. What you're going to get rewarded for is what you've done with what you have. That's all that matters. It's your stewardship of it. So in the country I'm from, we don't own anything. In the country I'm from, there's commonwealth. That's what a kingdom is. The king owns everything and we share it all. And it's common to all of us. It's commonwealth. Now, different people in the kingdom have different stewardships for different reasons and purpose. But we all have access to the commonwealth of the kingdom. In the country I'm from, resources are supplied to advance purpose, not hobbies. God advances his purpose in and through our lives. He'll resource that. In the country I'm from, money's not wealth. In the world we live in, money is wealth. But in the country I'm from, money is not wealth at all, because we don't deal with money in that realm. It's not the pursuit of that realm, because everything's provided. Everybody still with me? All right. So when we deal with God and we want to talk to God about money, you've got to understand where God's coming from. It's a different economy altogether. Runs on a different set of rules. In the country I'm from, true wealth is spiritual, solical, physical, social, influential, community, and generational blessing. That's what it is. You can have all the money in the world. He says, what would it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? That's no benefit, because you're leaving it all here. So true wealth is when your spirituality is good, or your soul and your mind and your emotions are healthy and doing well. Well, what's the point of having all the money if you're going crazy? And so true wealth is spiritual, rich toward God, intimacy and reverence, solical in that your intellectual and emotional development, knowledge and understanding and wisdom. All of these things you're healthy in all these arenas. Physical fitness and diet and health and hygiene, and your social, your marriage, your family, your kids, your friends, and how you interact in the marketplace. They're all important. Your influence, your capacity to bring change to the world and the generation you live among, the community and your ability to improve the lives of those and others around you, and then this generational understanding that I've got a time period in which to do what I need to do, but I've got to pass it on to the next and the ones after that, and living with a generational understanding. This is the wealth of the kingdom that I belong to, that we belong to. All with me? Now, you don't pray to leave, but we pray for heaven to come. Please understand this. Jesus said this to them. After this manner, therefore, Pray, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Don't pray to leave. Pray for heaven to come. That was, he said, this should be our desire. And most religion is always preparing us to leave instead of equipping us to stay. And it's a big difference. And you can nearly tell by the songs that are sung and the doctrines that are taught where the philosophy and the ability of that congregation to reign in life is or isn't. And they're always talking about getting out of here. He said, don't pray to leave. You pray to bring heaven here. That's the difference. Manifest heaven here. And although that kingdom will not be set up until Jesus returns at the second advent, you and I are the property of that kingdom now. We've been bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body and your soul and your spirit, which are God's. So we have an advocacy as ambassadors to represent a kingdom that will geographically show up one day when he returns, but until then, they'll see all the benefits of that kingdom in us as ambassadors of it. In John 14:17, again, don't pray to leave, but to be different in the world in which we live. Not weird, just different. I have given them thy word, and the world hated them because they are not of the system, even as I'm not of the system. And I pray not that you should take them out of the world. This idea of praying to exit here or preparing people to exit is just, it's wrong. It's what's wrong. We're not equipping people to live victoriously in all of the benefits that Jesus obtained for us. And all we want to do is talk about what he did, but not why he did it. And so we major around all of this stuff of I'm forgiven and I'm redeemed and I'm loved and all of that's true and all of that's right. But stop camping at what he did and now ask the question, well, why did he do it? What was the why in it all? And the why was to provide you and I something that we didn't have under Adam. The ability to reign in life and live life differently under kingdom jurisdiction. I pray not that you should take them out of the world, but that thou should keep them from the evil. They are not of the system, even as I'm not of the system. That's really what he's saying. Two systems in the world. Kingdom of darkness, kingdom of light. They run on two different sets of rules. When we approach God, more often than not, we are doing it from a psyche or a mindset of the world that we've been raised in and the way things are done in the marketplace around us. God's got a better way of doing it. Much, much better way of doing it. God can give you all the prosperity that this world would ever want, but you won't lose your wealth and your health and your family and your marriage and your joy and your peace and all of the other things that are truly wealth, that are kingdom wealth. You don't want to gain all of that stuff and lose everything else. In Ephesians 2:11, wherefore remember, Paul said, that in time past, when we were Gentiles in the flesh, who were called uncircumcised by those who were the circumcised, or the Jews, in the flesh made by hands, that at that time we were without Christ. And look at the word, aliens. Alien. You know what an alien is? Now, I know what you're going to, I know. If you're into UFOs. No, what? I've been in this country many times as an alien. I'm a foreigner. I don't belong. I'm here, but I don't belong here. I'm foreign. I'm from another governance. I'm from another jurisdiction. I may visit, but I'm an alien. I'm a foreigner. Then at time past, you were without Christ, aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, strangers to the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the system. That's where we were. At least Israel had something. It wasn't perfect. It was a form of governance based on a set of rituals where God used it to be able to influence the outcome of their days. At least they had something. But when we were Gentiles, we were foreigners from the whole lot, from the whole system. Aliens. But now in Christ, you who are sometimes afar off have now been made accepted by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace. He has made both the Jews and the Gentiles one. He has broken down the division or the middle wall between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, to make in himself, here's the why he did what he did, to make in himself of the two, Gentile and Jew, one new man, so making peace, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity that kept them away. That's why he did it. He did it to bring us close to God, to break down the boundaries, to break down the barriers for Gentile and Jew, and to bring them all together in one. And came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and to them which are nigh. For through him we both have access by one Spirit to the Father. Now therefore, you are no more strangers or foreigners. Well, why would you use the word foreigner? Have any of you ever been? I've been here many times as a foreigner. A foreigner is you leave your own country and your own governance and you go to another place. You come under another, you subjugate it to another. Now therefore, we are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. Please understand this. He did all that to make me a citizen. If I asked you to identify yourself, normally when we ask, well, tell me about yourself, first thing we started talking, where I was born, where I'm from, where I live, what I work at, and we run through this whole rigmarole of natural perceptions of concept, where I come from and who I am and what's made me what I am. It really shows us how unrenewed our mind is. Truly, if people say, who are you? You should start with, I'm a citizen of heaven. I'm a child of the living God. I'm born again of the Spirit of God. Oh, you know, I was raised in Texas and did that and that, but I had a new birth experience at such and such, and my life changed from that moment on. I started to live. The purpose of my life started to be unfold. I started to discover who I am and what I am, and you never know who you are until you find God. You never find you till you find God, because the purpose of your life is in God. Simple as that. So, I'm a citizen. This is a concept, and I'm sorry for the wordiness of it, and they may sound like what I'm going to show you now is similar, but it's not. Each one of them have a distinct truth to it. I'm not asking you to remember it. I'm just asking you to think about it as I read them out. I'm very aware of this as a foreigner in another country. I'm very aware of this. You may not be as much being Americans in America, but the concept is true for any country. Citizenship. Citizenship is the most powerful principle of a kingdom or a country. The most powerful attribute or benefit or principle that any country or kingdom can give you. They can't give you anything more than Citizenship. It's the greatest gift a country can give to anybody. It's powerful. It's the most powerful thing a country can give you. That's why people come here looking for that term, citizen. It's the most powerful thing a country can hand anybody. And there's a reason why. It's because everything that country is wrapped up in, encapsulated in a citizenship. The most powerful principle of a kingdom or a country is citizenship. Citizenship, number 2, is a governmental covenant with the individual. When I receive citizenship here, this government will covenant with me individually. This country will covenant with me. That's what citizenship is. Citizenship is a governmental covenant with the individual. It's a personal thing. That's why I get my passport with my photograph on it, and my citizenry is declared by it. It's proof that I belong to. It's my legal document to say that I'm covenanted to that country. Still with me? 3, citizenship is access to rights and the privileges that they or that country afford. When you're a foreigner in a country, you may be able to enjoy some of the benefits of being in that country at that time, but the rights and privileges of it belong to citizens, not to foreigners. They belong to the citizen. They belong to it because it's a covenant between that government and that individual. 4, citizenship is a commitment to a common or a set of common laws, ideals, and values. That's what makes America America, is its laws. It's what makes China China, Russia Russia, Ireland Ireland, are its laws. When you accept citizenship to a country, it's not just the biggest thing they can give me. It's not just a contractual agreement between that government, that country, and me individually, and the benefits and the privileges that come with it, but it is a submission or a commitment to a set of common laws, ideals, and values. To become a citizen, I agree to the commonality of the laws and the ideals and the value of that country. I'm not here to change it. I'm coming to come under its governance. I keep its laws and its ideals, and I keep its values because that's part of me belonging to it. You're not keeping this book to try and make God happy. You keep the laws in this because the value of this kingdom and its ideals and its laws guarantee me benefits from that kingdom. That's all it is. It's a contract. 5, citizenship is a privilege and not a right. It's a privilege. So you contribute to it. You support it. A lot of people come here, they don't want to be citizens, but they want to take everything they can get from it. That's not citizenship. Citizenship has a responsibility with it. Citizenship has a contribution that you make to it. You invest in it. It's not an investment in it, it's an investment in yourself by investing in it. You support it. You advance it. Because in advancing it, you're advancing you. All with me? Am I going too deep here? One of the ways you know you're a citizen in a country is when you pay tax. That's how you know you're a citizen. It's also how you know you're a foreigner when you don't. Because tax is you investing in, contributing to, advancing, if you understand what I'm saying. All right? For all the right reasons. All right? But that's how you know. When the IRS give you a number, I'm locked into the system. If you understand what I'm saying. That's how you know. You know you're a part of it when you contribute to it. You know you're a part of it when you support it. You know you're a part of it when you are advancing it. There's a lot of believers just want what God can give them, but they don't contribute to it. They don't support it, and they don't advance it. But they want the benefits of it. All with me? Just works this way. Citizenship requires responsibility and accountability. There is accountability, responsibility with being a citizen of heaven. It's not just a free-for-all, just name it, claim it, and I'm born again and I got my ticket. No, there's responsibility and accountability that goes with this. Citizenship is the constitutional contract of a state or a country with the individual. It's a contractual, constitutional agreement. So it's not just a contract, there's a constitution that goes with it. It's written down. Citizenship is the legal status of an individual in relationship with the Constitution, guaranteeing all the rights and the privileges afforded therein. I know it might sound like I said that already, but I didn't. It's a different terminology. Citizenship, 9, is a constitutionally protected status. Your citizenship is constitutionally protected. Your kingdom citizenship is constitutionally protected. Did you know that you're constitutionally protected by the kingdom? Go to Psalm 91. Somebody read Psalm 91, verse 11. Psalm 91. 91. In verse 1 it says, "He who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my God, my refuge, my God, in Him will I trust." And he starts to go through this whole benefit of abiding under the shadow of the kingdom, is what he's saying. That's where you live, you abide. And then in verse 11, it says about His angels. What does it say?
For He shall give His angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways.
Did you know I have a constitutional contract to protect me? The Constitution of this country protects its citizens. The Constitution of the kingdom protects me. Angels have been assigned to protect me. Go to Matthew chapter 4, please. I think it's verse 6. I could be wrong. This is when Satan took Jesus to the pinnacle, and he quotes it as well, because he understands the constitutionality of what's going on about kingdoms. Because he was going to offer the king, he said, if you want these kingdoms, I'll give you the kingdoms if you just bow down constitutionally, worship me, and make me your master. That's really what he was looking for, submission to governance. Somebody want to read verse, is it 6?
Starts at 5.
All right, go ahead.
Then the devil took him into the holy city, and had him stand on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone.
He understood there's a constitutional protection of citizens in this kingdom. God has already given angels charge to look after us. There's a constitutional protection in a country, in a kingdom. We're trying to get God to do something that God has already done. And we're not having faith in it. We think God's got to, God, will you look after me? God, will you do this for me? And the reality of it is, constitutionally speaking, covenantally speaking, what? You're already, it's already part of your citizenry. Are you still with me? You just have to have faith in the Constitution.
They're unalienable whether we realize it or not.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But the application of them, that's why when you go to court, you bring a lawyer with you. You want to bring somebody who's aware of what your rights and privileges are based upon the law or the Constitution. Is it not? It's because many of us don't fully understand the fullness of what we have. It's what I'm doing right now with you, spiritually, trying to explain the fullness of what you have constitutionally, covenantally in the kingdom that you've been born again into and have become citizens of. That's all I'm doing right now. It's trying to help you understand that built into this document, built into this kingdom that we belong and are citizens of, are laws that constitutionally protect me and you. There are rights and privileges that are therein, and I keep this not because I'm trying to win God's favor, but because it is a legal document and it affords me the privileges of that kingdom. It's a kingdom document. Everybody still with me? All right. Citizenship, verse 9. Number 9 is a constitutionally protected status of the individual with the state or the country, protected by the words that are in it. Jesus, every time the devil took him on a constitutional challenge, where did he go to? The Word. It's written. It's written. My Constitution says, my country says. It's like, we're faced with so many different choices today in the world we're living in. What do you Christians believe in this? What's your opinion of that? What's your opinion? And I hear people trying to cozy their way around difficult issues. I've learned it's real easy. In the country I'm from, in the country I belong to, in the governance I'm under, we don't do that. That's not our ideal. In the country we belong to, we love everybody, but that's not our ideal. They're not our values. That's all. It's just the country we come from. Citizenship is a conference. You know what I mean by to confer? When you confer something, and when you go to university and then they're going to get your doctorate or whatever, you get the governors of the institution to confer upon you the doctorate. You don't take it upon yourself. It has to be conferred upon you by somebody more superior. It has to be given to you from somebody with the right to give it to you. Citizenship is the conference of a nation on and in an individual. I now become an ambassador of that country because citizenship was conferred upon me by that country. So you're an American. So it doesn't matter where you go, it doesn't matter what country you're in. They're going to look at you straight away and say, what? You're American. Or the first thing they'll ask you to identify yourself in a foreign land is what? Why? Because your passport identifies you. It helps everybody else understand under what governance, what rights, what privileges, and what benefits you live under.
In your own nation.
Pardon?
In your own nation. You don't have those rights when you leave.
No, but people understand where you, like for example, when Cherkasky died, was executed back in '92, when the fall of the Iron Curtain or whatever, I went in on a missions trip weeks after that turnaround. And when we arrived at the airport in Romania, in Bucharest, and when we arrived at the airport, there was Americans with me. A couple of American people went with me and ourselves. And we went in there to connect with people that were under that regime for decades. And when we went in, we got to the airport. When we arrived and got off the plane, we had to buy, because they were looking for money. They didn't have money. The country didn't have money. The other guy screwed them over for everything that they had. So they had no money, so they were looking for currency. So when you came into the country, you had to buy a visa when you arrived. And so being Irish and being European, I had to buy a visa when I arrived. So they asked me, your passport, you're Irish, stand over there. So they put the Europeans over there, and our visa, the stamp, the Romanian stamp for our visa at that time cost, let's say, it was around about $50 just to get the stamp. But in the other line over here, they had two lines. They had the Europeans here. Who did they have in the other line? Americans. How much was their visa? $200. $200, privy to the fact that you had a passport to say that you came from another country and from another place, under another governance. And they looked at Americans and Europeans as two different classes of people based upon the fact that they felt that the Americans were rich and the Europeans were just sort of better off than they had been. Because that's the way they perceived Americans. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be perceived in the world based upon the citizenry that you have. You are an ambassador of your country. As Irish, people turn around and say, oh, you know, see the Irish, oh yeah, probably great drinkers, the whole lot of you. Whatever. They're always fighting with each other. Yeah, I mean, we don't. We don't, not all the time. Anyway, well, not at all. But you understand. So people have these ideas about us. But what's wrong with our kingdom citizenry? Do we not understand that our life among the world has also got to be somebody who lives a life as an ambassador of that kingdom? We represent what we're under. It's why people probably don't like the kingdom much, or what we are preaching and teaching, because we're terrible representatives of what it is we're supposed to be. And so everybody at work, hey, you know, there's this one, that one, that, and them Christians, they're over there. It's like the two lines. Europeans over here, Americans over there. We expect more from the Americans than we do from the Europeans because we understand that they are better off. Or at least they tell us that they are. Or at least they act that they are. And so, hey, we'll get $100 from them, we get $200 from them. Because they're rich. Because they're whatever. You go to work and you go into the marketplace to do business today, and you go in and they'll meet with Tom, Dick, and Harry from around the marketplace, but when they look at you, if they know you're a Christian, you're in a different line. Perceptionally, you're in a different category altogether. Or at least we should be. Citizenship is a receiving of a country. You're an ambassador. When you confer something on somebody, did you know that you can't sack an ambassador? You can't sack one. You can't fire him, yeah. Lost in translation. Yeah. You can't fire an ambassador. What can you do to an ambassador? There's a word for it. What do you do with an ambassador? You recall them. You never fire them. You just recall them. You can go to a country. If you went to Romania back then, or if you went to Haiti, the poorest country, if not the poorest country in the world, and you go to the American embassy as a citizen, you might live around poverty and squalor because of the governance of the Haitian government. But the minute you step through the gates of the American embassy onto the property, which is not called Haiti, but in actual fact it's called the United States of America. As soon as you step in those gates, you are now in another country. It's under a different set of rules, a different provision, different laws, and different protections than the people that are sleeping out on the street outside its gate. When you go in through them gates into the American consulate or into the American embassy, they're not short of food or protection. Everything was first class. Everything has excellence to it because it represents another country. Does that make sense? We're ambassadors of a country. Our lives, our talk, our attitude, our values and everything comes from a different place. So, Luke says this, Luke 22:29. Jesus said to them, I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my Father has appointed unto me. Another version says, I confer on you. An ambassador here is installed by who's the one who confers it here? It probably it's probably the Senate that agree on allowing certain ambassadors to represent the country. Pardon?
Department of State.
The president can't. He can recommend it, but he can't confer it, because a president only represents a party. But when you confer something, you're passing something from a country to a person. And so he says, I confer unto you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one to me. Now I confer unto you royal authority, as my Father conferred to me. That's what Jesus did. He passed on to us what he had. What the Father gave him to do and what the Father gave him, he now gave us. He conferred it to us. That's what's been passed to me and you. Let me just...
But, I mean, I'm just not an ambassador.
Say again?
I'm not just an ambassador.
Nope.
I'm the son of the king.
That's the next level.
So,
But
yes, I get the rights and privileges of a citizenship.
This is a different citizenry. This citizenry is so different. I'm trying to get our heads to think citizenry, but when we get that, then I'm going to show you that it's an even different citizenry than anything you see in the world. Because we're family. We're family as well. It's just different. It's powerful. What we belong to is powerful. What we are born again into is amazing. It's just an amazing place that we are in, but ignorance has kept us blind to the reality of who we are and what we have. Peter said it this way, but you are the ones God chose, chosen in a high calling of priestly work, chosen to be a holy people, God's instrument to do the work and speak out for him, to tell others of the night and day difference he made for you, from nothing to something, from rejection to accepted. Friends, this world isn't your home, so don't make yourselves cozy in it. Don't indulge your ego at the expense of your soul. Live an exemplary life among the natives so that your actions will refute their prejudices. Then they will be won over to God's side and be there to join in the celebration when he arrives. Does that make sense? That's what he's saying to us. Another version says, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. What makes a nation a nation? Laws. So it makes us different from everybody else. Not the Bible that you put on your desk, not the bumper sticker on your car. What makes you different is that you live under laws. of a kingdom. God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who's called you out of ignorance into understanding. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Dear friends, I urge you, as, here we go, foreigners and exiles. Exiles are people who are living in another country until they go back to it. As foreigners and exiles, to abstain from sinful lusts which war against your soul, live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deed and glorify God on the day that he visits. In Hebrews it says that these people live their lives, these people in the book of Hebrews 11, and they live their lives as admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. We cozy up to the thing too much, and we miss the potency of who we are and what we have. So let me make this statement. You're not as poor as the country you are in, but you're as rich as the country you're from. When you're an ambassador in another country, when you are an ambassador in a foreign land, you are not as poor as the country you are in. They do not determine your level of prosperity. Does the ambassador, American ambassador to Haiti, live the life of a Haitian? Is he under the governance and the rules of the people that are living in Haiti all around that piece of property called the American Embassy? No, he doesn't. Sir?
When you said that word, a movie scene just came to mind. Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon, when the guy said diplomatic immunity.
Yeah.
Powerful. We have diplomatic immunity. Or we in those kind of environments.
I'm going to show it to you now in a second. Exactly what you said. Please understand, you are not as poor as the country you are in, but you are as rich as the country you are from. This is a mindset change. It's a different economy. We're going to talk about money, but money is the world's economy. Wealth is God's economy. It's a different system. And you are not as poor as the country you are in. You are as rich as the country you are from. So when I went to Romania and they wanted $100 for my visa, they were assessing that I had more value than they had. But when it came to the Americans, they thought the Americans were far richer, because they saw the Americans as rich as the country they were from, not at the level of the country they were in. So when those guys that came with me stood there and showed their American passport, they automatically thought, hold on a second. Your prosperity level is not based upon where you are right now. Your prosperity level is based upon where you're from. I want $200 for your stamp. Does that make sense? You're not as poor as the country you're in. Stop letting the world around you define you. Stop letting this economy tell you how well you're going to do. Stop letting the stock exchange determine your level of prosperity. Stop. Because God can get involved in your life and my life in ways that the stock exchange and other people have no clue of how to do it. But He does. He knows how to prosper people. He knows how to make you wealthy. He knows how to make you and teach you how to profit. He knows how to do it. And he'll do it in the system you're in, but He'll do it His way. But you've got to stop thinking that your level of wealth or prosperity is based upon the country you are in. You are as rich as the country you are from. So where are you from? Anybody want to tell me where you're from? From I'm a citizen of a kingdom of heaven. My God shall supply all your needs according to the index. Is that what it said? My God shall supply all your needs according to his economy. He knows how to do it. He understands you got to have it here. He understands the system runs by money here. He understands that. And he understands we need that to do life here. And he'll get it to us if we understand it, because it's the only other thing on the planet that demands worship the same as God. Remember Jesus said, you can't worship God and mammon. You can't worship the two of them. Both of them look for your worship. Both of them look for your allegiance. He says you can't serve the two of them. One of them is your master, but they both can't be. Yes, sir.
It's a kingdom economy, but money is a technology based on trust. So we need to place our trust in man's economy, his currency, in God's economy, and his promises. In essence, money is nothing but a system of trust.
It's an idea.
He's saying put your trust in me, not in the currency.
Yes, it's an idea. Money is only an idea.
Money is a system of trust, but it's man's system of trust.
Exactly.
Not his system.
And it can be lost in the morning.
Right.
We had friends from Russia, ministers in Russia, and they were saving there. You know, sometimes we'd invest in them as a church. We'd get involved to sort of under the Iron Cross, and so we'd send them money. But we you didn't send stuff by normal channels. You had to give them cash in order for them to have something. And so what they used to do is keep their money in large notes, like 500 rubles or whatever it was, I think it was at the time. And so they'd save it, you know, and take it out when you needed food or when things were bad, and just to help them with their church, whatever. Then one night, or one morning, they all got up, and the Russian government had devalued the 500 note. I mean, it was of no value, and they didn't tell anybody. So all these people that had all this savings under the mattress, it became worthless. You couldn't even trade it into the bank. They just made a decree. It's of no value. None. They devalued the 500 ruble note. Half these guys lost everything they'd saved because they'd put it in bigger notes to sort of take down the bulk. And it just went broke. Money is an idea. It's all it is. It can be valuable today and worth nothing tomorrow. In one country, you know, $1 meant so much, but now if you wanted to buy something with inflation, you had to take a wheelbarrow to buy the same amount of stuff. God says, please, trust me. I know how to get your needs met. I will meet your need, but you've got to think kingdom for me to do it. Now, let me wind out by let me go down to this. Just to make your point. Here's Paul the Apostle. It says, Paul's after giving his testimony, okay? And the religious people are doing the nut over his road to Damascus experience. It says, and they give him audience unto his word, and then they lifted up their voices and said, away with such a fellow from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust in the air. And the captain commanded him to be brought into the castle and bade that he should be examined by scourging, and that he might know whereof they cried so against him. The Roman soldiers, I mean, Paul's after speaking, the Roman soldiers were there, the religious people throw the dust in the air and say, we kill him, and they just go after him. Watch what happens. So the Roman soldiers grab Paul, they're going to scourge him, they're going to beat him as they would anybody else for what's after happening, and the religious are shouting, you know, scourge him, scourge him. And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, is it constitutionally right for you to scourge a man that is Roman and uncondemned? Now he's pulling citizenship. And when the centurion heard that he went and told the chief priest saying, the chief captain saying, take heed what you're doing, for this man's a Roman. Hold on a second. This ain't one of the religious lads. This guy's a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, are you a Roman? And he said, yep. The chief captain answered, with a great sum of money obtained I this freedom. Paul said, nah, I was born free. Straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him or beat him. And the chief captain also was afraid after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had tied him up. They got terrified. They got terrified for one reason. What was it? Law. He was a citizen of another country, and they were afraid of their lives to touch him. And Paul knew exactly. He called on it straight away. He said, hey, hold on, before you start beating anybody, I'm a Roman. You can't do that to me. You can't beat me. I'm a Roman. I demand that I go to Caesar. And that's how he ended up there. He pulled on his citizenry. Folks, we need to learn to pull on our citizenry. It's a completely different way to do your new birth life. Any questions on any of that? Was that confusing? Everybody okay? I know it's a lot to think about. If you've come in 26, 27 weeks on, it is. But hey, let me upset your thinking. Let me do that for you. And when we get to next week, I want to go back and do what we did last week. I want to start talking to you about how this now operates. I just wanted to spend time talking about citizenry. So you just change your thinking. Yes, sir.
Your thought process, this is a pivot. It's a great word.
It's a pivotal. Yeah, it's taken us that amount of time to try and turn our thinking. Now I'm going to take you down a street called the blessing, and it's just a different way to live. It's just another way of living. It's the way we're supposed to live. We're supposed to live under a governance called the blessing.